Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk about feelings, nothing more than feelings. A big topic for those of us looking to live our lives more intentionally, more fully, more functionally. When we've come onto the path of exploration, of self-development, of intentional living, conscious living, it's one of the things that we will very quickly encounter is lots of different advice about how to deal with feelings. You've got to feel your feelings. You've got to cathartic your feelings. You've got to let them out. You've got to express them. You've got to do this. You've got to do that, the other. And one of my teachers, I did a retreat with her a few years ago, and she said her favorite answer and the most truthful answer about what should I do about XYZ, whatever question it was, she said the answer is always, it depends. And I think with feelings, given how much attention is given to emotions and how they are such a part of our human experience, and so many of us can feel very lost about what to do with them, I think this piece of advice works really well here, as it depends. And there's a key factor in why it depends, which is how are you now? How are you meeting your emotions now? How are you dealing with your emotions now? There are, based on trauma patterns from childhood, there are lots of different strategies and categories, but two primary ways, we'll say for now, that people tend to meet and manage their emotions. One is they tend to go more cognitive. They tend to think about things and feel less. And then there's the flip side, and we know people like this that seem just perhaps a little bit very rational, very useful, rational approach to things, but maybe a little disconnected. And then we have the other side, people who just seem to be nothing but a big volcano or pool of emotions. Telling someone like that to express their emotions, or working with them with modalities and strategies in coaching or therapy to express their emotions more, may not be what's going to help them so much. And on the flip side, someone who's less connected to their feelings, maybe that is a good approach. One of the things that you might hear mentioned a lot, and I like this as well, it's not so much about feeling feelings, but processing feelings, using feelings, making sense of feelings in order to live a better life. Depending on where we're coming from, the initial steps might be a little bit different, or the emphasis in how we work with our feelings might be a little bit different. Essentially, we all need to be able to proceed in a similar, but we're all individuals and we're all different, but in a similar fashion with certain components included in how we might deal with or manage our feelings. The way we know we're feeling something usually is literally a feeling. It comes connected to a physical-ish, a somatic experience. Something is going on in the body that lets us know we're either having a pleasurable experience or an uncomfortable or displeasurable experience. Is that a word? Displeasurable? Unpleasant experience. If we're more on that cognitive side and we tend to think about things more than feel them, we may be completely disconnected from the body and we don't really know how to feel. In that case, we might need some strategies to help get us connected. Once we know what the feeling is, the logical processing, we might already be quite skilled at that. But we're not using that richness of information that comes from our feelings. On the flip side, if we're very connected to the somatic experience and the somatic space, and we really feel things in intense sensations in the body, and again, if you've had trauma, this might be even more intensified. So neither side is balanced, and what we want to get to is that balanced side of, okay, I can feel the feelings. If we're on the more intense emotive side, we might get overwhelmed. It might not take very much of a sensation for us to get what they call flooded and incapable of thinking about what's going on or using the more rational, the prefrontal cortex part of our brain. So in that instance, our training is going to be less about feeling feelings, because we can already do that, and more about translating those feelings into something rational, more about getting the connection out of the emotive brain into the rational cognitive brain. So, whichever side you come from, the eventual pathway that we want, what processing an emotion to me in the system that I practice and use looks like, is to be able to feel it, is to be able to recognize and articulate it. So many people communicate in different ways, through their bodies, through words, through images. I feel like the practice of emotional literacy that I learned from my coach, which is really to put words to the feelings, is a very useful one, regardless of which orientation we may prefer or we may be more naturally inclined towards. Given that the majority of our communication happens through language, I think it's good to develop that fluency. So we might have a physical sensation that we want to be able to give a name to. If we're less likely to feel the sensations, we want to practice letting that in a little bit more. If we tend to get flooded and overwhelmed, we want to practice holding ourselves and not getting flooded by the intensity of the sensations. So recognizing them without getting caught up in them. We want to then be able to say, I am feeling, naming the feelings with a degree of sophistication and a degree of color. I'm not going to move my camera around. I've talked about these before and put these on little Instagram posts, the emotional color wheels. So initially, we can use quite an intuitive method to do this, to feel into the body and then have some words that describe emotions and just go, yeah, I think it's that one. We just want to keep getting closer and closer and closer to that. Once we've actually felt it, allowed it to be, recognize what the emotion is, then we want to understand the message of it. One of my early teachers, he has a beautiful practice he's a Zen Buddhist, of having a cup of tea with your emotions. And you need to be able to do those two steps that we described in order to be able to do that. So you need to be able to hold the feelings, you need to be able to recognize the feelings, and then you need to be able to say, what are you telling me? What do I need to know about this? What do I need to do? What's the action that needs to be taken in order for me to hear the message? So if we think of feelings as messengers, and we either don't feel them at all, then we're kind of making stuff up, or if we feel them too much, we're just letting them run all over us and not actually do anything useful. So we think of feelings as messages. We want to be able to interpret and understand the message, and then we want to be able to make it useful in our lives. So the third step is having that conversation with the feeling. What are you here to tell me? And using our cognition and using our intuition, our body, both of them in harmony, to have that thought process and say, okay, well, am I angry because someone's transgressed a boundary? Am I fearful because something in this situation has reminded me of something from the past, but it's not really real right now? Am I feeling sad? Do I need a hug? Really simple things that perhaps our emotions can guide us towards in order to take right action to keep ourselves in balance and keep ourselves as healthy and whole as possible. These are my thoughts for you today. Hope it's helpful. If you've got any questions about these practices, anything more practical that you want to know, or suggestions of your own, I always love hearing from people about what they think about these things and what they have played with and discovered and want to share. So I hope you have a great day. Bye.